Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton went at it on foreign policy, and most importantly, on the issue of Henry Kissinger.
Where the Secretary and I have a very profound difference. In the last debate, and I believe in her book, very good book, by the way, in her book and in this last debate, she talked about getting the approval or the support or the mentoring of Henry Kissinger. Now, I find it rather amazing because I happen to believe that Henry Kissinger was one of the most destructive secretaries of state in the modern history of this country. I am proud to say that Henry Kissinger is not my friend. I will not take advice from Henry Kissinger. And in fact, Kissinger's actions in Cambodia, when the United States bombed that country, overthrew Prince Sihanouk, created the instability for Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge to come in, who then butchered some 3 million innocent people, one of the worst genocides in the history of the world. So count me in as somebody who will not be listening to Henry Kissinger.
Secretary Clinton. Well, I know journalists have asked who you do listen to on foreign policy, and we have yet to know who that is.
Well, it ain't Henry Kissinger, that's for sure.
That's fine. You know, I listen to a wide variety of voices that have expertise in various areas. I think it is fair to say, whatever the complaints that you want to make about him are, that with respect to China, one of the most challenging relationships we have, his opening up China and his ongoing relationships with the leaders of China is an incredibly useful relationship for the United States of America. So if we want to pick and choose, and I certainly do, people I listen to, people I don't listen to, people I listen to for certain areas, then I think we have to be fair and look at the entire world, because it's a big, complicated world out there.
It is.
And yes, people we may disagree with on a number of things may have some insight, may have some relationships that are important for the president to understand in order to best protect the United States.
I find it's just a very different, historical perspective here. Kissinger was one of those people during the Vietnam era who talked about the domino theory. Not everybody remembers that. You do, I do. The domino theory. If Vietnam goes, China, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That's what he talked about. The great threat of China. And then after the war, this is the guy who, in fact, yes, you're right, he opened up relations with China and now pushed various type of trade agreements, resulting in American workers losing their jobs as corporations move to China, the terrible authoritarian communist dictatorship he warned us about. Now he's urging American companies to shut down and move to China. Not my kind of guy.
This isn't just a disagreement. He's a war criminal. So Hillary's love for him, support for him, his support for her, that's unacceptable. I mean, this goes back to the one of the questions in the previous debate, is Hillary a progressive? If you go to Henry Kissinger on anything involving policy, the answer is an overwhelming no! So let me explain to you guys exactly what I'm talking about here. Vox had an article about Henry Kissinger and exactly what he did. Let me break it down. They say, quote, most infamously, Kissinger masterminded a Nixon-era plan to carpet bomb Cambodia. Sounds more like a Ted Cruz advisor than a should-be Hillary Clinton advisor. Nominally, the bombing, which indiscriminately hit targets in civilian-populated areas, was suspected to destroy North Vietnamese and Viet Cong bases. In reality, it was designed to improve America's strategic position before a negotiated withdrawal. Okay, let's understand that. He says, yeah, I'm going to hit civilians. I'm hitting them on purpose. I'm going to target them on purpose simply for a, quote, strategic position. That's a war criminal. That's a bloodthirsty savage. That's a barbarian. He has more in common with ISIS values than what American values are supposed to be. And Hillary takes advice from this guy. He should be in a fucking jail cell, Hillary. He advocated killing civilians. He did kill civilians. Unbelievable. More, quote, American bombs killed between 150,000 and 500,000 people in Cambodia. That created a swell of public support for Pol Pot and his communist Khmer Rouge rebels who exploited popular anger at the bombings to seize control of the government in 1975. The Khmer Rouge then slaughtered hundreds of thousands of Cambodians and starved even more, ultimately killing at least 1 million people, about 1/7 of the country's population. Now, this is only exactly what people are afraid of with ISIS today, when you have idiots like Ted Cruz saying, carpet bomb them till the sand glows. When you kill so many civilians, you give the people on the ground no choice but to turn to their fucking captors to protect them, the captors being ISIS. So you give them more control, and then they get in power and do an even bigger genocide. Terrible idea, and again, a war crime. A war crime. This is what he did. More. In 1971, Pakistani dictator Agha Muhammad Yahya Khan began slaughtering the residents of East Pakistan, which is now Bangladesh, by the way, in retaliation for electing a leader who demanded autonomy. Instead of intervening to stop Yahya, Kissinger sent him weapons, a policy that was, at the time, illegal under U.S. law. It's also illegal under international law. He pulled the U.S. Consul General in Dhaka, Archer Blood, from his post for questioning the policy and blocked efforts to pressure Pakistan, a U.S. ally, to end its slaughter. The killing only stopped after India intervened to stop it. Estimates of the death toll range from between 300,000 to 3 million people. And why did he sit by idly as our buddy slaughtered people, and then we armed him as we knew he was slaughtering people? We gave him more weapons. Why did he do it? They say, well, he was anti-communist. All right, more. In 2014, newly declassified documents suggested that in the 1970s, Kissinger signaled to Argentina's right-wing military leaders that the U.S. would not object to its plans to launch a 1976 crackdown on dissent that became known as the Dirty War and that killed about 30,000 people. What was part of that Dirty War, you may ask? Rape rooms. Rape rooms. They got the green light from good old Henry Kissinger. Hillary, tell me more about how you support women's rights. And then talk to me about the rape rooms your mentor, that your mentor green lighted. This isn't a debate. This isn't a question. This guy's a fucking war criminal. He should be in jail.